Welcome to Blender for Architects. This is a tutorial about the installation and customization of Blender and these nerdy interfaces. It turns out that this tutorial takes about 25 to 30 minutes, which is a little too long, and if you're impatient, skip it, install it, and skip it. But I highly recommend that if you're a beginner, that you look at this and follow the instructions of this tutorial, because this is very important, and otherwise it will take you hours and days to understand what is going on in Blender. So it's very strange interface. It's independent of any operating systems. You get access to all the code of Blender. And by that, the paradigms of the interface, as you use it, know it from Windows or from Macintosh, it's simply not there in Blender. So you have to relearn the whole stuff, how to move with the mouse, how to click, how to use menus and so on, what is a window, an area, an editor and so on, in a very complex environment, and this takes time and patience. So I highly recommend follow these instructions step by step before going into it with actual modeling. So welcome to this tutorial and enjoy it. Welcome to Blender for Architects with a tutorial on how to configure this nerdy, a little messy interface for the needs of architectural modeling. So I will give you an overview of how the mechanics of all this works and give you hints what the settings should be, so that we can continue straightforward to this line of our tutorials. So this is Blender 2.79 and it looks like that. So the first thing is it's a development, open source development of a community. You have access to all the sources of this modeler, and it runs on all operating systems. And by that, it doesn't follow the schemes of interfaces you are used to either on Windows or on Macintosh or on Linux and so on. It's simply different, and this is a little disturbing and unusual, but it comes with the enormous freedom that you in principle can do whatever you want, and you're not dependent on a certain scheme of how to interact with computing. But the learning curve is a little bad, so it takes time to get used to it and so on. So the first thing is, what is strange in these times is that it doesn't come with windows. So it's only one window, which is the Blender window here, and within these windows we have areas. So areas are subdivisions within this one window. So you see these are different areas. You can change the areas. So and within one area there are so-called editors. So this, for example, is an outliner editor. So it's like a directory on all the things there. So you go to all these things, and for example, if you select one, you get the corresponding hierarchy, and then you can go deeper and get here. These are the properties. There's a properties editor, and here you see, for example, if I select the cube, then I have a certain setup here in the property editor. If I go to the camera, it's different. If I go to the word, it's different again. So all this depends on each other. So I can select that and look, it's connected. These editors are connected. The editors are in certain areas, and the areas are in one window of the Macintosh Windows system and so on. So if I want, you've seen how to change the areas if you like. You always can zoom. You can zoom these things. So if I want to split an area, so go to this upper right corner of an area, wait for this cursor. It should not be like this, not be like this. This is changing the area. This is splitting the area. Take it and you get a double one. So if you go here and drag, then you collapse two areas. You can't collapse to here, but you can to an area. Oops. You see, it's complicated. You can't collapse here, but you can't collapse here because it doesn't know how to do it. It's on another hierarchy. So collapse it here and collapse it here. This is what we want to have in our environment. We don't want to have this timeline. So you can change the editor on an area by, for example, putting a timeline here, or going for the 3D editor here. Where is it? 3D view. It's here. So we have a second one. Or we can go for the file browser, graph editor, the outliner again, which is important. So in our setup, we want to have an outliner, we want to have the properties here, and we want to have the 3D view. Now go to the 3D view. You see this 3D view has different shelves. So we have the tools here, and you can open and close it, or here, or by key T. These are the tools. So we just want to have them closed. These are the properties. You can open them, you can close them, or using N. It's very important. These key and shortcuts work depending on where the mouse is, because there's no window, so the position of the mouse without a click is important. So here, whatever you do, it refers to the outliner. Here, it refers to the 3D view. Now I want to have the properties shelf. I get it here. If I want to close it, you either go here, open, or you click N. We can do the same with the menu here. Open, close, or go here. So we want to be in object mode. We want to go to solid renderer. This is okay for the first. Global, these are the layers. This is okay. And we want to have the snapping on the grid on. This is the setting of this line we want to have by default. So now go to the outliner. This is fine. Go to the now we are with the cube, and to clean up this menu. So you see there are a lot of shelves, a lot of menus. So you see it's massive, and they all simply, you see, these are the pull down menus. So yeah, so that's a renderer. This is what we very often use. We have the dimensions, close it, anti-aliasing is good, shading is, everything is good, post-processing, we are fine here. Go here, don't close it, not to make it too confusing. The same with the scene. Units, we want to have it on meters. This should be the preset. close it. Key sets, we don't need that. We don't need gravity if we don't want to have physics. Rigid body, we want to have simplify, close it, custom, mesh align plus. So make it like this. Now the world, preview, don't do it so ambient. So we will go here, simply close it so that it's not too disturbing. So you see the system behind it. So the vertices, shapes, maps, vertex. So you get an idea of how. So we will have a lot of these things and go there. Particles, physics, and so on. Now go to the lamp. It's clear, simple. Lamp, shadows, previews. So that's fine. The camera, the lens, the camera. So we will have that later. Simply close it, the world. So here we are. So very few things, but simply close it not to get confused. So we had this menu. We cleaned the properties. We have the outliner. That's fine. So here with the info panel, this is what is interesting. This is this is an editor, and you see what happens if we work. You see, these are the Python commands triggered by creating events in this interface, and then it's operating, and then it's delivering its results to the editors. So you can take get and copy this code and assemble them and write your scripts. That's very interesting. So remember, this is with the info editor. We don't want to see all these commands, but we want to have this menu here, because these are some important menus. We see different things here. So this is the default setup, what we set here. For example, these are other setups of predefined setups of areas of different editors for different kinds of works. For example, for video editing, if you do the game logic, if you go have a 3D full view, and this is our default. So this, and you can have your own setups by doing this. This is a scene, keep it, we will go later at it. And what is important is we will use the cycles renderer. Depending on the renderer, you see that the menus are changing. So this is very confusing. If you're in a game, or if you have a fast renderer, if you go to cycles renderer, we are here, and this is what we want to have. So, so always have it like that. So now we have this menu, the outliner, the properties, we have the 3D view. We collapsed all these side bars. Now we can go here, and you see again with these tool bars on the 3D view. Again, a lot of different menus and pull downs. The transform is very important. There are the coordinates of our manipulation. You can see now we moved it by 3 meters in X direction, So this is important to follow, therefore we want to have that open. I really dislike the grease pencil, collapse that. The view, this is important as well, keep it open. So now 3D cursor, item, shading, motion tracking, keep it off, screencast, we don't need it. So this is how we have it. Look, it's changing depending on whether you are with the camera or the lamp, cube. Okay, the word. So this is our properties panel of the 3D window, and close it again. So this is what we want to have, and we don't want to have this initial setup of camera, light, and objects. Therefore we select them all, delete it, and here we are. Now go, we want to have the top view in auto and meters. This is how we want to start a fresh Blender. So we can save that by save startup file and copy that. Now if we start Blender, it will come up in this kind of setup, and we are happy with this clean setup. To work in our environment, we need 2 add-ons, so modules of this developer environment, which gives additional functionality. So and I want to show you how to install that. So for that we either go here to the user preferences, and we get another window with these settings, or to keep it clean in the same setup, we change our 3D view to user preference editor, and here we are. So this is how to configure the whole environment for interfaces, for editing, for input, and this is the first we have to set up. I'm using a laptop. I don't want to have a keyboard, extended keyboard, or an extra mouse, because I'm not a gamer or a professional modeler, animator. I just want to be mobile with my laptop and being able to work wherever I are, and I don't want to relearn the behavior of the system, because this takes a little time. It's like playing piano. You have to learn it and somehow get these keys by heart. So what you need, you have to emulate the 3D mouse button if you're on laptop. If you have a 3D mouse, if you add this, then keep this button off. So I immerse my trackpad, and if you don't have an extended keyboard, so I tried it. This is very useful, but you have to carry around these things, and then if you're in train or something, it's getting messy. Therefore, emulate the numpad. This is important for speed, and changes a little the setup. Then for all these editors, for example, the 3D view, you have whatever you do, all these kind of commands, and you have for a certain command of Python, you have keys of keyboard or mouse clicks and so on, and this, for example, the Shift F to trigger these kind of Python functions. And you are able to do it with all the environment. 3D view, animated channels, you see. You can add new events, interface events, and you can search for it. For example, zoom, and then you see all these interfaces, zoom view, how to do it with the keyboard, with the mouse, and so on. I tried it. It's getting complicate. You really have to be in it, and you have. So I suggest don't touch it. It's important that you know that this is possible. So add-ons, we will go later. You have themes, how these editors look like. 3D view can show all this, the default files, and the system setup with the buffer, the audio, the GPU maps, and whatever. So add-ons, we need 3 different add-ons to install. You can add-on is this, for example, this here is 3D stored view, whatever it is, go to the documentation. Here you see this stuff, and there are description, there should be a movie and so on. If you like it, go here and switch it on, make your experiments. If you don't use it, you get it deactivated again. So these are all the things delivered with this 2.979 package, and some of them are switched on, the others are optional. So if you get more experience, play a little around and look what you can use for it. So we want to have 3 things. I already installed BLAM. It's the Blender Camera Calibration Toolkit. So go for documentation. It's here. We have a user's guide. This is how to calibrate the camera to the photograph in a background, so that your renderings is calibrated in perspective to a given photo. So look at some movies, BLAM, add-on Blender. Here. Look how it works. There's more of it. So you have the picture, get some principal lines, and then calculate the perspective of your view. So there are more of this and so on. So to install that, this is simple. Go to GitHub. Most of them are there. Download it. Now it's in our download folder. The source is BLAMPY. This is the source code, so it's a text file. So we can adjust it to get an idea. So this is what you need to do. It's not too much. It's not very compact, but not more. So that's it. So how to get that into this view is simply say install add-on from file. Then we go to downloads, BLAM, source, and simply add this one. Look for BLAM. Here we are. Switch it on, and then it's part of your environment. The next one is Impulse. It's a small one. It's for physics and simulation of movements and so on. Blender add-on. Now we need to download it. here, and down simply, this is not GitHub, this is a different, simply get this file, again you see py, look it up, so it's, now it's in my download folder, go here, say install add-on, Impulse, edit, Impulse, switch it on, and then it's part of our environment. So we can go back to the 3D view and save that as startup file. Or to be sure, go user preference ordner and save user settings so that we have it. Okay, 3D view. So the last one is the Filmic Render. So this is if you are here, and it's about the color management. If you have color management here, you see we have very weak 8-bit or 6-bit colors, and if you want to have that at HDR, this means you can render shadows and bright sun and so on in a much broader 24-bit at least range of colors. And this is not in the distribution, and therefore we want to expand that. This is with the Filmic Render. It's a little complicated to install. So we have the Filmic Render add-on Blender. Again, you can have videos. Look it up. So download this zip file. So we have this, and we have to do it, install it manually. So if this is your folder with Blender, we have to open this application, go to code, and instead of going here for starting Blender, we go to resources, this distribution, we go to data files, color management, and whatever is there, delete it and replace it with this whole stuff. That's it. Go back, and we have to restart Blender. So quit it. We saved the preferences. Quit it, and go to Blender. And here we are. So we have our principal setup. And now we go to our color management, and here we see we have the Filmic Renderer, and this is HDR. So by look and contrast, we say base contrast is good for everything. So this is with the color management. You can leave it, put that here, and save the whole story as startup file. And that's it. Check it. Go new. Okay, that's fine. This is how we want to start as architects with Blender. Cyclic renderer, snapping, clean menus. That's it. Hope you enjoyed it, and you will see in the next tutorials when we start to model in Blender. Thank you.